What's up, everybody? Cartel here with War Pigs for the Fantasy Bros, or as Terry likes to call us, the Fantasy Hoes. I'm fine with that as well. You can tell by my demeanor, I'm not very happy that I lost to Corey this week. This was my week. I guess we'll talk about that in a minute, but I have mixed emotions about that. While we go through, Corey, as you always do, the overview of the different divisions. Should be pretty easy to do.
All right. First off, Superstar Division. War Pigs win, get out of their mini slump. Hopefully it was just a mini slump. 7-2 now, one game ahead of the Bad Company, who's now won their second in a row at 6-3. And the Blues and the Barbarians both lost. I don't think they're mathematically eliminated, but with what those teams look like, I'm pretty sure they are at 2-7. All-American Division, Lead Dogs, now on their mini slide, fall, go to 6-3. Motor City Kings, I'm sure we'll talk about them quite a bit coming up, win their fourth in a row, now one game back of the Lead Dogs. The Bullies lose, they're putting them under 500 at 4-5. Aforementioned Cartel lose their second in a row, go to 3-6. Power Pack Division, Untouchables still almost completely untouchable, seventh win in a row, go to 8-1. Hazards win their second in a row, slowly but surely climbing toward that playoff spot at 5-4. Commandos win, much needed win, 4-5, and the Pit Bulls, like the other 2-7 teams, pretty much out of it at this point.
Yeah, it's interesting. Looking at the average points against, the team in that division with the highest average points against is in last place. Now, that's got nothing to do with the points for. Let's leave that alone for a second. But every year this happens where you have a team that might not have as bad of a team as they look on paper, the Cartel, but you just run into teams that happen to score more than them that week. And it's unfortunate and it's frustrating. And then you have the other side of the coin, which is sometimes teams that do better than they should be, because they, like the Bullies, 768 points against the teams that play them. He does some kind of Philadelphia voodoo on them and they just don't play well and he beats them. So at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. You win how you win, and it is what it is. I think based on some of the trades that have been going on today with the Blues, I think Nandu probably sees that he's not going to make the playoffs nor win. So if you're not going to win, what's the point of making the playoffs and getting an eighth pick? You might as well trade, put in a full roster, trade, get some picks, and then regroup for next year. What I think is the smart play. I don't know if I'm there emotionally yet. I should probably be there mathematically. We'll talk about that in a second. But the playoff picture is becoming more crystallized. And, we saw Josh Allen potentially getting hurt last week. I don't know that he did. He might be out 1 week plus the bye. But the whole point is that we're one injury away from any team getting drastically changed. So the question is there enough time for the bottom and the mids people to come up or the top people to come down? A lot of football left. We'll see. You want to run into go through the games real quick from this past week?
Sure. Let's see if this one works or it's too late. There we go. It still works. Should we just go in order? Is that on my screen?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, let's get this one over with for you. Tell me why you're emotionally or not sure how you feel about this loss to the War.
I'm very sure how I feel about the loss. I'm not sure how I feel about the rest of the season.
Okay.
I feel like I knew when Lamb was on bye, Kittle's on bye, and Taylor's out. That's three of what would probably be my 5 keepers. And so I had to hope that somebody else would step up. And I got a 0 from Hines, who did absolutely nothing. I got 1 point from Duvernay, which is basically nothing. Will Dissly, nothing. Like I can't beat a team that's 7-1 with 3 nothings. 10 points, 9 points could have got me in the play. I don't know that my guys that I thought would do well did, but there's too many holes to fill that week. Great. The question for me is, do I have the team that can win the next? I think we have 5 games left. I think I looked it up the other day, 5 games left. If I win 5 games in a row, I'm in the playoffs. Do I think I can win 5 games in a row? Well, look at the schedule. I play Untouchables this week. Probably can't beat the Untouchables. Nobody has. Why would I think that I can? Oh, wait a minute. Josh Allen might be out. So I'm not to that point yet. I don't think where I'm ready to fire sale and just kind of go to and give up, but I'm really, really close, because to Nandu's, what we said, we think Nandu's thought process is if you don't think your team can make the playoffs and win, then there's just no point in waiting. I might as well trade players now while they matter and get draft picks for them. As long as I don't weaken my team for the future, I'm not going to give up. I got a fair offer for Justin Jefferson where it was like 2 first rounds and a second round and somebody the next year. And that's not an unfair, that's not like an disrespectful offer. However, if I trade away a key component of my team for picks, and then those picks turn into guys that don't work out, I've given away a for sure thing for some maybes, and that doesn't work. I can't mortgage my future and take on more risk. So I just have to kind of think through all of that. But you played well. I mean, your team did everything that you needed to do. Taysom Hill, we didn't think would do anything. Alec Pierce, we didn't think would do anything, but everybody else showed up in a big way, and you won pretty handily, actually.
Yeah, this, I was a little worried about it going into, well, it was Monday Night Football, right? That you had a couple guys left.
Yeah, I needed 30 points between Duvernay and Kamara, who are easily, but they have the potential to score 15 points each.
Oh, for sure.
Could happen. And I got 9 points total. So
yeah, I was definitely worried about it because Taysom Hill, as much as we've had this conversation over and over again, he really had one amazing week and hasn't done shit other than that. And his average is like 7 only because he had like 30 plus in that one week. He really does nothing. And honestly, I'm starting to wonder if at this point, he's certainly not worth almost 1 on my salary. But I'm stuck because Andrews continues to be questionable or whatever. And I think he's on bye this coming week now on top of it. So I got to roll with him another one. But you're right. And I'm very fond of saying this because I'm quote unquote proud of my team. I haven't had a week under, I'm jinxing it now, knocking on wood a couple times. I haven't had a week under like 94 points. There's been no sputter, in any of these games. And I'm obvious and honestly pretty lucky that I haven't run into, for the most part, anybody going off and getting 140 while I'm having these average, high average games. So yeah, I could have very easily lost this week. I kind of expected to, and yeah, the 30 number seems high, but like you said, I mean, Kamara can go for that by himself. I was expecting, and I'm sure you were, at least doubled from what he had. That would have made it a lot more interesting. You get into that range of 1 touchdown and you're right back into it. So
I got 15 points for the Patriots defense. That's the only reason it even looks this close. It should have been 70. Right. And the only reason I played Tua, and this is the last second change, and you saw the lineups change, is I was like, oh shit, he's got Tyreek Hill. I need to put Tua in case Tyreek happens to catch a bunch of catches. And then all he would do is throw to Tyreek. And I'm like, well, every time I get 1 point, he gets 3. Like, fix this. So
yeah, it really worked out well for me there. They both had 23, which is pretty funny. So obviously my receiver took out your best offensive player, at least this week. Jefferson had 22, like you said, but nobody else, as I'm fond of saying, except for the defense, got into double digits. I still don't know what happened with Hines. I know he was questionable or whatever, but he played, right? Did he just never catch a ball?
He played 1 or 2. He played on special teams, and he didn't have enough time to get the playbook together. And they said they're going to use him more this week. But, I always picked him up as a backup. Sure. And I didn't think Taylor was not going to be able to play. It looks like he's going to play this week. So maybe Hines will never see the field again for the cartel. We will see.
Yeah, I kind of forgot about him being in Buffalo now. And of course, so he doesn't know the playbook. And blah, 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 and all that kind of stuff. So especially being in a new offense and half of his job is to protect the quarterback on passing downs if he's not going out for a pass. You don't want a guy in there that doesn't know, exactly what's going on. So
I don't want him to protect Allen. I want Allen to get hurt so that touchables is all right. Let's go to the next one. We got a bunch to get through.
all right, next one, big scoring game. We got Bad Company over the Pit Bulls, 142 to 114. So this is exactly what I'm talking about. I could have lost to either one of these teams had I played them. I'm not sure, haven't looked. That might be a season high for the Pit Bulls. And what
Great.
happens? He gets screwed and played a dude that I think that might be a season high for the league. Did anybody else get over 140 this year?
I
Sure.
think we did. Yeah, we've been in the 150s, but definitely the top range. I
Yeah,
think the only reason it was that close, though, and I'm not downing on the Pit Bulls team, but when your quarterback puts up 42,
sure.
you should win. But also, if you look at that, he had to play James Cook, who no one would start on purpose. But now you look at Zeke's out, or Melvin Gordon's out.
Yeah.
Damian Harris, I think, was injured. Devontae Smith, he didn't have a lot of people to pick from, so he put the team he had to put out there. But you're right, he would have beaten me. He would have beaten a lot of other teams. So it's frustrating for him, and maybe not. If he had won that meaningless game, maybe that would have messed up him for the pick. Maybe at the end of the day, if you're 2-7, you're not trying to go, mid-range. So go ahead and lose if you're going to lose.
Right. I mean, this is kind of what you're talking about, right? Like, is it actually better for him to lose despite putting up 114? Mentally, is it better for you to win? So you don't, or is it good for him enough to put up 114, be like, yeah, I can compete. My team's not that shitty. Or are you looking at it like my quarterback got a season high? Nobody else did anything except for Kenyon Drake, which that's not a normal output from him. No. That was insane. 23 points. Might be a career
The best thing
high.
to come out of this game for him was the realization that Justin Fields might just be who everyone thought he was going to be in the beginning. If this can sustain itself, and we have a diet version of Jalen Hurts who can throw and can run, now all of a sudden you might even have a keeper, and you throw him with Mike Evans is solid. You got Zeke, like he has the components now. Maybe his 5 keepers are better than they were before.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what I was going to say. Comparison to Jalen Hurts, who I never liked as a QB1, certainly in the last couple of years. Or this is only his second year, right? Yeah, 2 years. But he's got that same style, right? Maybe not super accurate, especially on the run. He can run really well, though. And if he figures out the passing a little better, then sure, there's no reason why he can't be Hurts next year. Although I would say his offense doesn't have the players to make that happen. But certainly, as I just showed on the screen here, he's 20, 20, and now 42 the past 3 weeks. So all of a sudden, he looks like a dude that, yeah, maybe I should keep him. And looking at his roster, he probably will, right? So. Yeah, so that's good for him. Like I said, I think mentally for the Pit Bulls, that's got to be heartening as opposed to disheartening for next year. And then on the Bad Company side, I mean, obviously we're talking about it on Sunday, Mixon going off for 5 touchdowns, which is insane. That's obviously not normal, but he didn't need that much from him. I mean, I know that Pit Bulls got 114, but Bad Company still won by almost 30, which is crazy. Cooper Kupp with the usual 20. Waddle had a good game. Garrett Wilson even with 12. And then Jalen Hurts with 20, which is kind of low for him, actually. But and then I thought this was funny. I'm pretty sure he's got the largest team roster-wise in the league, or pretty close to it. There's nothing there.
Yeah.
Other than the dudes that are on bye. There's no points there. So
Deion got hurt. Deion Jackson got hurt. It's the only reason his numbers were so low.
Right.
So, he played the right team.
Yep. All right. So moving on, we got the Blues and the Untouchables, which on paper and how the season's gone, it seemed like this was a foregone conclusion. And yet he only won by 15, 18. So way closer than we thought. 103 is pretty low for the Untouchables. As he's fond of saying, I'm going to hit 100 anyway, no matter what happens. And that seems to be pretty much what happens. So yeah, on the winning side,
Everything
but
goes through Josh Allen with him. If Josh Allen blows up for 350 and gets a rushing touchdown, throws for 3, and 2 of those are to Diggs, he's going to blow it up. If they have an off game like they did this week against a good defense like the Jets, Connor's hit or miss. He's not been great this year. Cook has not been the Cook of old. He's still a top 15 running back. He's just not been like he was 2 years ago where he was top 3.
Right.
You go on down and Goddard's been great. Like he's got enough pieces that people can pick up. And even if he has a bad week, he's scoring 103, which would have beat half the people in the league. So,
Right.
more power to him.
Yeah, no, this another good game from him. I think Goddard, sure, he's had a good year. I don't know, 20 points. Let's look really quick. Season high, almost by double over any other game. So that's not a usual output. So I would argue that's why he won, or was right there. I mean, with him putting out the 7 on average, you're looking at 1 play away from losing. So that's pretty interesting. 24 from Allen, like you said, and we've been talking about, he's hurt now. It depends on how it goes. It sounds like from what I read, it's going to be something he'll deal with the rest of the year. It just depends on how he deals with it personally. And then, I mean, we see those plays all the time, and I always think, one of my daughters even actually asked me, what happened to him? What happened to him? I said, when you're throwing a ball and he's throwing it hard on that particular play, and a dude comes up and hits your arm and you're still doing the motion, I don't know how these guys don't rip ligaments in their elbows all the time.
Yep.
And that's bad. This is a really bad injury. He sounds like he got lucky that it's not serious, but you have to wonder, another hit like that, especially if he plays this weekend, what's going to happen? So if I'm the Bills, do you just throw out what's his name? Is it Chase? That's the backup.
He picked up Chase. Did he pick him up today? Who did he pick up as a backup quarterback?
No, he picked up I think the only dude he could afford was Erlinger or whatever from
from Indianapolis Colts. Good for him. I'm playing him this week. I hope he does as well as he did last week.
Yeah, right.
It seems like he's got a sprain. From what I read today, Allen will be out this week, and then he'll have a bye week, I think. So in 2 weeks, he'll be fine. These guys are professional athletes. They're super muscular. Like they'll have all of the PT that they can handle. I think he'll be fine in 3 weeks, which is fine.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Yep. So and on the blue side, we've seen, like you said, he's selling pieces now. We'll see how that turns out. I don't know. Remember who pointed out? Maybe it was Mike pointed out how many draft picks he's got coming up, and that's great. I mean, you would think in a position like that, he's going to probably try to package a couple of those and pick up a dude that he knows is going to be good, especially for a lot of teams that,
I don't think he can. I think you got to have 5 keepers. There's no point in having 8 picks if you don't have 5 keepers. Like I think he's got to figure out, okay, AJ Brown stays. Deshaun Watson will be like 5 cents, right? Great.
T. Higgins.
T. Higgins will stay.
Yeah.
DK Metcalf.
Yep.
And
all wide receivers.
Michael Carter, maybe.
Well, he's going to keep Deshaun, right? Deshaun Watson.
I already said Deshaun. So
not
Deshaun.
Not in jail.
AJ, T. Higgins, Deshaun, Michael Carter, and DK Metcalf. They'll be his 5 keepers. There's nobody else.
You just traded Carter, right? Isn't that one of the trades that made today?
Yeah, he traded him already. So yeah, my point is, I think his packaging of players is probably over. So there's not anybody left to send. He's maximized it.
I said packaging the picks that he's picked up. Pick up a player, right? Right.
Yeah, because he doesn't have players to give, and he's very good. And I don't want Nandu to, he probably won't even watch this, but he's very, very shrewd with his picks. So giving someone like that a bunch of extra picks, there will be strategy behind it. I'm sure he'll turn that into a top 5 finish next year, which is usually
right. Yeah, I don't think anybody's worried that he's going to be a shitty franchise going forward. So off and bad year for him, and he'll turn around pretty quickly, I'm sure. All right, moving on. I mean, this has got to be a season low for the league. Sorry, Kevin. Conan are barbarians, which you gotta change. You gotta take the Conan out, dude. This doesn't make sense. Royal Oak Conan barbarians doesn't make sense.
We talked about that with Tim. There's a play there with his dog, and so it can't be his partner. It can't be the barbarians. It doesn't have the emotional hook that he wants it to be. So it could be the royal. I don't know. There's other ways to do it, but we can't.
Royal Oak Conans.
Yeah,
Let's
can't
spend
take
half an hour.
the-
Let's spend half an hour talking about this.
can't take the
Anyway,
Conan out. He scored less points than Justin Fields did. At the end of the day,
yeah.
we got, Mark Mariota's not been good all season. James Robinson's on a new team. DeAndre Swift is not his old self. However, if you look at his team on paper, I would take it next year as my 5. Like, he's got the pieces. It's just Brady's having a bad year. Rodgers is having a bad year. All these, I'm sure before the first game of the season, he was like, yeah, I'm going to kill it this year. I mean, you got Thielen, Godwin, DeAndre Swift, James Robinson, and Dak Prescott, Nick Chubb. I mean, he's got more than 5 keepers. They just can't get healthy at the same time. And then when they do, he plays a team that has 140 points. He can't win. So,
I mean, I agree with you to a point. I think James Robinson might be on the way down because now he's on a team with Michael Carter, right? So he's going to be sharing. Swift always shares, and he just doesn't seem to be able to stay healthy long enough to really produce a ton. He's obviously talented, but look at this year. I mean, he's already missed 3 games.
it is a rough year. I get it. But if you look at this year for Jonathan Taylor, it looks very similar to that. Listen, if you agree with Corey, I'm happy to take DeAndre Swift and Nick Chubb out of hand. If you think that they're not good, let's figure something out.
Yeah. I mean, listen, to finish going through this really quick, Godwin hasn't been the same since Brady has obviously aged 10 years in the last 2 months. Probably, that's going to take 10 years off your life if you are divorced from a supermodel. And then Thielen is 45 years old. I would be surprised if he kept him because honestly, that dude's pretty much at the end of his career. Kyle Pitts should be better, but he's got Mariota as quarterback.
No.
So this is his season right here. Nothing, 11, nothing, 16. It's completely hit or miss. I know this dude was on prognosticators list of like probably top 3, at least top 5 tight ends going into this season. That hasn't proven to be true. He's got Chubb, obviously the best player on his team. Cortland Sutton was supposed to have a good year. Russell Wilson hasn't been able to make that happen. So yeah, he's got some pieces. Do I agree that there's 5 keepers here? Not at all. Honestly, not at all. I mean, he's going to have 5, so it doesn't matter. But you got to wonder now at this point, does he start doing what Nandu's doing and sell off some pieces? There's a couple guys he could do that with. You're looking for biggest windfall to get back. It's got to be Chubb. And is he willing to do that? I don't know. I don't know if he's willing to do that. And then on the other side, I mean, this is potentially the biggest turnaround, one of the biggest turnarounds in league history right now with Motor City Kings. Kyler Murray, 19, Derrick Henry, 23, Ramondre with 14, Kenneth Walker with 26. That one's going to piss me off for the rest of my life, probably. Josh Palmer, that would be a great one to ask me what team is he on, what position? With 14, and then on his bench, Gino, newly acquired War Pig at 21, and a bunch of zeros. But Debo on the bench, Amari Cooper on the bench because of buys. So he'll get those guys back. I don't know what the status of J.K. Dobbins is, but this dude all of a sudden has a great team that nobody wants to play.
Good example of making trades. I'm sure he has less picks next year than he'd like to have. He gave some stuff to get Derrick Henry. Kenneth Walker got dropped on his lap. And honestly, if you put Derrick Henry and Kenneth Walker on anybody's team, it allows you freedom to take chances other places. So, I mean, he's won 4 games in a row. Do we think he's going to win the next 5 in a row? I don't think that anybody can win that consistently in this league. We'll see.
But look at this. I mean, you say Ramondre, and I was like, whatever. Look at these numbers.
Yeah.
Except for the first 2 weeks, the dude's been double digits every game and usually high double digits.
Yep.
And unless my batteries come back, we might be stuck on that page. There we go.
Which
Okay.
means it's gonna be $3.70 next year.
Right.
Enjoy that.
So anyway, yeah, he's got a lot of good stuff going for him. I know he spent a ton once he figured out, hey, I actually have a good team. So he spent a ton of money. That's good for whoever wins. And we're all hoping it's not him. Well, at least I am.
Yep.
All right. Belleville Lead Dogs versus the Detroit Biohazards. Like I said in the intro, this is, I believe, second loss in a row for the Lead Dogs, similar to what I went through for a minute there. Great game for the Hazards. 138 is a huge number. 35 from Mahomes coming back this week. Another player I barely know, Tyler Algier, with 12. ETN blowing up with 25. Alan Lazard was 16. I don't know how that happened. 15 for Lockett, who is age defying. Ertz with 12. His kicker got 10. I mean, this dude had everything working. 11 on the bench for Juwan Johnson. He stepped out of bounds, by the way. That was garbage. You know what I'm talking about? So Timmy looking pretty good there at 5-4. What do you think of his roster going forward? And is this obviously 138 is not sustainable? Does he have a roster going forward that he can win?
It is. I think it is. I think you have a top 3 running back quarterback. I think you got Travis Etienne has kind of stepped into that role now that Robinson is gone. And I watched a lot of the game this last Sunday, and he's small, but he looks really slippery, and it was really fast. And he was sitting Christian McCaffrey, and he was sitting Jeffrey Wilson, who looked really good at Miami. I mean, he's got the pieces there. I think he's a little bit weak at receiver. I don't believe in Gabriel Davis. Lazard, he had a good game, but then that's the way that probably would start on most teams, and Lockett would start. But he don't need to have, Pittman's no one to throw to him, and Darius Slayton's no one to throw to him either. So, like, at the end of the day, he can win just off of his quarterback and run back play. I think he has as much a chance to make it to the playoffs and do something as anybody else. Maybe not as much. Close.
Yeah, I mean, and I kind of forgot McCaffrey had a bye this week. It's only his second or third week with his team, so I can't imagine him going anywhere but up unless he gets hurt again, which he always does. So you gotta wonder about that. But yeah, look at this with ETN. Starts off slow and then double digits every week since then. Second week in a row with 20s, and the week before that was 19 right there. So he's obviously, or it looks like he's turning a corner. He's going to be on bye in a couple of weeks, but other than that,
he looked good. He was catching passes, and he was like all over the place. So yeah, I mean, and he's cheap. I think he's like 0.2. So as far as value goes, and then on Rodney's side, it's what we said from the beginning. When all of his players play really well, he can beat anybody, but there's just not a lot of depth there because he has some pretty expensive players. So you got Patterson back, who immediately played well. Josh Jacobs played kind of where we thought he would be all season. I feel like he's been overachieving, but it is what it is. And then Fournette has not looked like he did earlier this season, and the team hasn't looked that good. And you also got that other new guy, Rashad White, or whatever his name is, that eating into about 50-50 into his carries. Yeah. So if Jackson has an off week and off week 16 points, so doesn't score 30, right? And Jacobs doesn't really do a lot, and St. Brown's been quiet since he came back from injury, then you're going to be in that 80 to 90 range. Now that 99 still would have beat me, still would have beat a lot of other players. It's not a bad score. It just means when you run into someone that has a great week, you're not going to win. And earlier this season, Rodney's team was scoring 130, 135. So that's going to beat most players. Now at that 100 route, you're looking at about half the players you're going to beat.
Right. Yeah. I mean, like you said, with Jacobs here, starts out the season like we thought, blows up in the middle of it, and now he's back to what he was. So on this, I feel like this is averaging out. He had a couple great weeks, but look at his opponents, right? Opponent rank versus running backs. Broncos 16th, Chiefs 25th, Texans 32nd, dead last. Those where he blows up. All of a sudden, he comes back for the Saints, more middling, 6.4, 23, even for the Jags. He still only puts up 10. I don't understand, Devontae Adams said something this week, like, basically he doesn't understand why they're that bad. I don't either. They got a ton of talent on that team. The Raiders can't win.
Well,
Um,
they've been up 21-0, I think, the last 2 games and lost. So the
Yeah,
issue isn't necessarily scoring, it's holding on to the lead, which
yeah.
is not Devontae's side of the field. So
But you're right. I mean, you look at Rod's lineup here. There's nothing he can do here. You got David Montgomery, who's I've been saying this for a few weeks now. Khalil, what's his name?
Herbert.
Herbert. Yeah, that dude looks good. He
Yeah.
looks really good. And then you've also got a quarterback who runs more than the running backs do. I wouldn't want a Chicago running back if I didn't have to. He had Donovan Peoples-Jones on a bye, but I mean, that's in Cleveland with a quarterback nobody wants. Gesicki's doing really nothing for the most part. And like you said, St. Brown is on a crap team. Sorry, Lions fans, that team is crap. They're always going to be crap. And he's done nothing this year for the most part, except for be hurt. I think he's in real trouble, to be honest with you. And I've said that before, and I know everybody likes to pile on, especially me with the Kenneth Walker thing. But dude, look at this team. Take out Leonard Fournette, who's been bad this year, mostly because the whole team's been bad, and put Walker in there. Look what the difference this is. He doesn't win this game, sure, but Walker makes a huge difference and would allow him a lot more flexibility there. He could bench whatever running back is not doing that great at a time. If I'm looking at his team again, he's already running with three. He's already starting 3 running backs. There's no receiver depth, and he's got to start Darnell Mooney. I mean, Justin Fields, as we just said, it's not a great thrower.
Look at something.
And the Egyptian God hasn't really done anything except for 1 week, as you're looking at here, 34 points versus a horrible pass defense team. And he's either been hurt or bad.
Here's the problem. I'm looking at his roster right now. This is kind of interesting, actually. Jackson's $3.30, which isn't crazy for a quarterback of that caliber. That's actually pretty good value. I'm paying $3.05 for Herbert, but Fournette, 188, Josh Jacobs, 180, Dave Montgomery, 170, Cordell Patterson, 186, Darnell Mooney, 186, St. Brown, 182. Every one of his players is $1.80, which is fine. Math works. But what he doesn't have is high producing players at 0.2 or 0.3 or 0.6. There's no hidden gems that give you the value of the upside on the salary cap. He's paying for every point that he gets, which as long as everybody's producing at that level, then it works. But when you're paying $1.80 and you're getting 50-cent production, that doesn't work. And he doesn't have it the other way around. So that kind of handcuffs him. That not only does he not have anybody he can play, he doesn't really have anybody he can pick up to play. He just picked up Willis for, I'm not sure why, because I don't think Willis is starting. Maybe he is for his bye or for injury or whatever. But let's say Lamar Jackson gets hurt for 3 weeks, sprains an ankle because he runs, he gets hurt all the time. Then what happens? Then all of your production's gone. You still got to pay that high salary, and you don't have anybody to put in. You don't have any room in the salary. You got to drop people. This is one bad injury from falling apart. But also, if everybody plays well, can win every game the rest of the season. So, I mean, who knows? That's why they play the game.
I definitely take that bet. I'm looking at this roster, and I think something has to happen here, or he's in real trouble. I'll be completely honest. The receiving core is bad. It's just flat out bad. Like we said, Fournette's in and out. Josh Jacobs in and out, mostly on the way down. Patterson is a key here at this point because that dude could go off in numerous ways, and if he does, then he's got a shot. And same thing for Kelsey, but I don't think the pieces are here anymore. I really don't.
Or get injured again because he's 72.
Yeah, that too.
We got one left, or is that it?
We got one more.
All right.
We got everybody's favorite team, the Bullies. Surprisingly, he scored 70 points and didn't win, because that's usually how Terry wins. I'm surprised he didn't play Kevin's team this week and win that game 70-48 or whatever it would have been. As it is.
Happy birthday, Terry, by the way. I know
Yeah, happy birthday while you rip your team apart.
turning
This is your
60,
present.
Tim's turning 60 is a big deal, and we expect you after having 60 years of fantasy football experience that you would, be a good manager.
Yeah, but no. Tom Brady, almost as old as Terry, but not quite. With 15, the aforementioned Khalil Herbert, who I just talked up for 5 minutes, did nothing.
That's because Fields ran for 160 yards.
Exactly. This is the problem. I like Herbert a lot. I hope he gets traded for him personally, because he's on a team that he's not going to do anything for the most part.
But also,
DeAndre Hopkins coming back. This is what, his only second or third game back. I feel like he scored every game.
Hey, look good.
And Olave, I really like. Despite being a Buckeye, I know the announcers talk him up every time I see him, but he looks really good for a rookie. Unfortunately, he has geriatric Andy Dalton throwing to him at this point. You have to wonder if the Saints aren't going to go back to Jameis at this point, because they're just not going to win. I mean, Dalton's more of a game manager at this point, and then dude's throwing into people's helmets and getting it picked off 3 times a game.
Horrible.
Curtis Samuel looks pretty good. Another Buckeye that looks pretty good. Is there anybody else on this team? I mean,
here's the thing. My hot take is that this team is not that different from Rodney's team. Yeah, the quarterback situation is completely different. He's got Saquon and Najee. He's got DeAndre Hopkins, Olave, Samuels, London Drake, Elijah Moore, Claypool, who's resurging and is a new team, but he's going to be better next week. Like, he doesn't have a bad team either, but he's been underperforming where Rodney's been overperforming. But I think if you were to take the mean of what you expected, they're not that far off. He just doesn't have. Tom Brady was amazing last year. Everyone made fun of him for drafting him, and he was like top 3 quarterback. He went back to the well and drafted him again, and now Tom Brady is what we thought he was going to do last year, which is he's just out of it. He got injuries. All of his wide receivers were hurt for a while. Like, he's yelling at his own team. Like, it's not working, whatever it is. And he also doesn't have any quarterback on his bench. So it's not like he can put somebody else in. So he's just kind of committed to riding this boat wherever it's going to go, and we'll have to regroup next year. Probably. I don't see, of all the teams we talked about, a way that he slides into, beats me in the division A. I'll be pissed off if that happens, but also makes it to the playoffs and gets past the first round. I'll buy you a cheddar biscuits at the Red Lobster, Terry.
Nice. Those are good.
Just one cheddar biscuit.
Yeah, he's kind of opposite of Rod. He's got a lot of young guys on this team. Olave, like we said, Curtis Samuel. Is he a rookie this year? Or is it second year? I think he's a rookie. Najee's only been in the league for 3 years. Barkley's only been in the league for like 4 years. So there's Drake London looked really good for a while. Again, his quarterback sucks, so that doesn't help, but he still looked good. He's got a lot of young, good players, and unfortunately, a lot of them are in bad teams in the NFL. But I like the core, believe it or not, that he has. He's just not getting points to compete, yet he's still 4-5. So, do I think he's going to do anything this year? Like you said, no, I don't think so. But as we always say, or at least I always say, you just have to get to the playoffs. You don't know what's going to happen. I will disagree with you what you said earlier. Is it better to sneak into the playoffs when you have a team that shouldn't be competing, or is it better to get a high pick? And I'll be honest, I think it's better to just get in there and get a shot, because
you misheard me. It is better if you're going to make the playoffs. It's not better to win a bunch of meaningless games and get the 6th pick and not make the playoffs and also be mid-range, and then you don't get any money.
Right.
That's, if you're going to lose, fucking just lose. Like, there's no point.
No, that's true. I agree with that. So on the other side, Commandos.
Look at the Commandos. If you just forget the score for a second. I had to do the math twice in my head, because I don't know how that team with those scores got to 93 and I got to 88. Like, I don't know how that happened, but okay.
Right.
Yeah, Devontae had a good game, but nobody else did anything. Like, nothing. And somehow he got to 93. If you take the scores out and look at the team versus team, you would expect that score to be way closer. So they have the same record. And that's what you keep talking about, is there's luck involved. It's who are you going to play, who gets injured, what's the game script, all of that stuff matters. Why did Higbee get 0 catches? No idea. Did he get hurt? I don't know. Looking at Jacoby Myers, who's played really well this season, really nothing. Damian Pierce, pedestrian. Aaron Jones should have done way better. I think he got hurt though. There's nothing there. There's not even a story there. And even not having a good game, he still scored 93 points and he still got the win.
Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna argue with you a little on Damian Pierce. I don't think you meant it like this, but I think he's really good.
He is, but 13
he's a
points.
rookie.
13
Pedestrian for normal players, 13, sure. But I mean, look at these numbers. First 2 weeks in the NFL, 4 and 8. Ever since then, high to mid teens and 22 against the game as well. And he's, the 12 and the 13 is the Eagles and the Titans both have pretty good defenses. So I think
that if people are going to consider him to be a top running back, then getting 12, 13 points is going to be on the low end of the expected.
Right.
And that's all I'm saying. He's a solid mid-range running back. I think there's a lot of room for him to get even better, but he's not. I haven't seen him put up consistently 20, 25 points like some of the other quarterbacks and running backs. And that's where he'll make the jump from mid-range to a RB1.
Well, and I think too, another player like this that is on a crap team, there's only so much he's going to be able to do, right? I mean, if you're playing Houston, what are you going to do? You're going to key on the running back. Who's the quarterback? Mills or whatever, another dude that shouldn't be starting. So, anyway, so Commandos at 4 and 5 going forward. Kirk Cousins is Kirk Cousins. Aaron Jones got hurt, right? I don't know. I haven't heard what the status is of him or how bad it was.
I think he did.
Looks like he practiced today, so it looks like he'll be okay. But yeah. Anyway, all right. That's the wrap from last week.
We're out of time. We don't have been on this for like 45 minutes already. Let's go to the forecast for next week, which is week 10.
We're at week 10. And throwing it out there really quick. As I mentioned last week, I'm pretty sure the trade deadline is week 11. That's what it's always been. I don't remember. Maybe you do. If we moved it up a week because we changed because of the added game or not. Or that'll be a question that Tim can answer once he watches this or listens to it.
If we didn't, it wouldn't make sense not to do it. If
Right.
any further, we should. I mean, I don't understand why we would arbitrarily leave it earlier, but yeah,
I feel like we changed it to like the deadline. No, that's the free agent pickup deadline. I really don't remember. Anyway, somebody does.
Yeah.
So week 10, let's just go in order on my screen because we're looking at it.
Yep.
War Pigs and Lead Dogs, 2 teams, both with backup quarterbacks this week, and pretty much everybody else intact without looking at it. If we make this quick, we won't look at the lineups unless you really want to.
I'm looking at the lineups right now.
Okay.
Mark Andrews is on bye. Burrow's on bye for you. Looking at him,
Right.
he got Cincinnati and Lamar Jackson on bye. I just don't see any way he beats you with Kenny Pickett, especially when you're going to have Geno Smith, who's going to put up 20 points. So for that reason, and probably only that reason, I put Indiana War Pigs as the winner on this one.
Yeah, I didn't want to do that trade. I like Geno. I think everybody likes Geno this year. And I guess looking forward, it's smarter of me to have a backup that can actually produce points in case Burrow gets hurt. So I don't have to worry about that. I would have liked to have kept Keenan. Hopefully going forward, he'll play. But now I'm hoping he doesn't. So I agree with you this week. I've got a full team except for Andrews and Burrow. So I guess that's really not a full team. But I think this is probably enough to beat the Lead Dogs this week. So, all right, what's next? We got Bad Company and Biohazards. That should be interesting.
The computer says 111 to 117 favors Biohazards.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at the of course those numbers don't mean anything. We know that. I'm looking
Right.
at the Mahomes against Jacksonville, the defenses people are playing against. I mean, Tim's going to have a pretty easy ride as far as defenses go, but he's playing against Jalen Hurts. Washington's defense isn't great, so that's going to be closer than you think. I'm not going to pick a winner on that one.
I'm going to say this. Looking really quick, Bad Company has Michael Carter on bye. Most importantly, Joe Mixon is on bye. Also Garrett Wilson is on bye from the Jets. So that means he's starting Jerry Jeudy, which you can't trust anybody from Denver. He's got the backup Dylan for Green Bay, and as we just said, Aaron Jones is practicing already this week, so that doesn't look good for Dylan. Tony Pollard has been pretty good off and on. So I'm going Hazards this week because I think those losses are too much. Plus, Hazards gets McCaffrey back this week as well. And I think the big question mark is Tim's receiving core with Lockett that can do really well. And also he's playing overseas. This is the Germany game, I think, right?
Yeah, it is.
That could be interesting. But I'm going Hazards in that game.
Okay.
So we got Blues and Commandos. How do you see that one turning out? That should be a walkover, right? I mean,
oh, I'm picking the Blues.
oh, he's picking the Blues. The Blues who's he starting at running back since
running back, he'll have
both guys from the Rams? It's either Jalen Warren or Isaiah Pacheco because Javonte Williams is an IR.
I'd imagine they'll put Pacheco in, but that's his weakest point. Aaron Rodgers is gonna play against Dallas, who has good defense. AJ Brown's gonna go bonkers against Washington.
Metcalf versus Tampa.
Metcalf against Tampa, he'll be fine.
T. Higgins is on bye, so
Ilkachich or whatever his name is has been a beast at tight end. Here's the other thing, though. If you look at the other game, Connecticut, you got Aaron Jones against Dallas defense. If he even plays, he's hurt. New York Giants defense is really good. Dameon Pierce. You got the Colts defense against the Raiders, which Devontae should still be able to tear them up. But then you got Terry McLaurin against Philly's defense, which is one of the best. I mean, he's not playing any powder puff games either. His defense is pretty tough. So, I think Connecticut should win, but I'm picking the Blues as my upset.
Yeah, I think this could actually be closer than you would think, and really a lot of that is going to ride on Nandu's receiving core. Those guys could all do really well, or they could all shit the bed. So I think that's the what it depends on. So, but I'm looking at the wrong week. Going Commandos for that one.
Okay.
Next up, Barbarians and the Bullies. This could be a 30-30 game. I'm not even gonna look. I'm going Barbarian. I was kidding. Let me look at the teams here. The computer says 101 to Barbarians, 92 to Bullies, but they don't have one of the players in. So probably it is exactly what you said, which is right on. You probably cut those scores in half, and we might be closer to what it's actually going to be.
Atlanta has really good defense, and Deontay Foreman's playing against them, so I don't like that. Herbert against Detroit, Olave, DeAndre Hopkins. Philly's going to kill Washington's defense. He could put Najee Harris in.
Yeah, I'm gonna assume that Terry hasn't set his lineup, and if he has set his lineup, then you got to wonder if he's tanking. Because Saquon is there, Claypool, London.
Yeah, but
Najee.
I mean, if Swift blows up today and this week, or Chubb plays well, like they can put up 30 points each. Like this is going to be closer than. This is not definitely not an upset of the week, but you could go either way and make a case for either of those teams to win.
Yeah, and obviously, if the Bullies lose this game, that's a huge blow to their playoff chances here.
I need to lose.
But looking at that lineup, I really think the Barbarians have a chance. If Terry changes his lineup and takes both those running backs out, then I think he's got a much better shot.
He will.
So just for the sake of picking, you know what? I'm gonna go Barbarians with the upset, just to pick an upset this week.
But we both picked that, although it's a minor upset. I wouldn't call that. If the Blues beat the Commandos, that's a big upset. If Conan wins, well, I don't know. Whatever. What's next? Cartel Untouchables.
This is a rough schedule for the Cartel. I gotta say, a rough schedule right now. You play two of the best teams in the league. in a row
Never.
during a time when you have to win if you still want a shot. What do you got?
No problem. I'm gonna fuck it. I want to make sure he has gout in his other foot when I get done with this. Is gonna be a route for the gout. That's what this is gonna be. I'm gonna fucking I got
That's
two
brutal.
against Cleveland.
Oof.
Taylor's
Route
back.
for the gout. I mean, I got to make a separate video and just make a music video out of that. Route for the gout.
Kamara, CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson, Kittle. It's like a Pro Bowl. I got a Pro Bowl team. Like I'm gonna destroy him. And he's got Josh Allen's one arm. Dalvin, I can't cook anymore. James Conner, who's been horrible this year. He tried to trade him to me in the preseason. I'm glad I didn't take it. DJ Moore's has had 6 different quarterbacks throw to him. He still can't. He's not just consistent. Diggs is only as good as Allen is. Goddard's been a beast. And then he has no one else he's going to put in there because Chase is hurt and he's on bye. So this is his week to lose. He knows it. I know it. We know it. We don't even talk about it. Cartel's going to win.
Yeah, you know what? I kind of actually agree with you. Especially on the Connor. I don't know what. That dude's not that old, is he? I just feel like he'd been in the league for 20 years, but he's done nothing this year.
Frustrating.
And looking at, like you said, Allen, they said he would be limited if he plays this week, which just tells me don't play him. This is your franchise. You're on track to make the playoffs. Why would they chance it this week? It doesn't make any sense.
They have a bye next week. So like that's
right. It doesn't make any sense. No. He might play a quarter, he might play a half if he plays at all. Obviously, that would be worse. Okay, listen, if he throws 1 touchdown in the first quarter, that's probably more points than Ellinger's going to get for the Colts anyway. So I can understand that point, but obviously it's going to shoot Diggs down big time. So let's just say 2 guys out of the picture there. Connor's been crap. Juju is complete wild card, could do nothing, could get 20. Moore's been nothing. Yeah, you know what? I agree with you, dude. I know you need it. And even if you're just doing a homer pick for yourself, I'm going Cartel this week.
100%. That's the
Cartel this week.
First smart thing you said all hour.
last game, Kings and the Pit Bulls. And again, on paper and the way things have been going, you would think this would be a route. And let's look at the lineups here. I haven't even looked yet. So
he'll put Zeke in for Drake because Drake's on bye. Damon Harris is also on bye. He's still going to be messed up at running back. So that's
Zeke's also questionable. So I don't know exactly what's up with that.
He does have Justin Fields against Detroit. So that's 60 points. So that will help.
Yep. Tyler Boyd's on bye, so they'll have to probably go Devontae Smith. He should be playing anyway. Probably go Smith there. McCole Hardman's also questionable.
Need him.
You'll have to go Pickens there. There's nobody else unless he picks somebody else up.
I don't love it, but whatever. It is what it is. Let's look and see what Motor City Kings has.
I don't think it matters. I think he can run out his 2 running backs and probably win this game.
Probably right.
If I'm being honest. So
at least Ramondre's out.
Yeah. I mean, Kenneth Walker's probably going to get 30 by halftime in Germany. So
all right, I'm going Kings, but it's not because I don't want the Pit Bulls to win. I just think if I'm going to gamble, that's where I will put my money.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he really does. Mike's got like half his team on bye, but none of them are good except for Ramondre anyway. So it doesn't matter.
Okay.
I don't know how he doesn't win. I think that's going to be a low scoring game for him. So, I mean, there's a chance at an upset there. I just don't think it's going to happen.
Let's do so. We got the War Pigs were picked by you and me to win. Biohazards, you picked them to win. I didn't pick either. The Blues, I picked. You picked the Commandos. We both picked Conan Barbarians to get one of their first wins in a long time.
And change our name.
We both picked the Cartels to win. And we both picked the Kings to win.
Yep. Sounds good.
Good. We'll do a better job next week when I have more time to prepare. Thank you for your time today, Corey.
This is a great job. What do you mean? This is a great job. This is what people want, is us talking out of our ass, pretending like we know what we're talking about and that we can see the future. And that's what people want. They want us to look like idiots, which all these games will turn out opposite of what we said, and they'll get what they want.
If all you got was a route for the gout from this, then it was worth
How do you not go with that, dude? I mean, I don't even know if the dude still has the gout. He probably doesn't, but that's the best name of all time.
Funnier if he, funnier if he
Route for the
doesn't.
gout.
He doesn't have it, it's funnier. All right. Thanks. We'll see you next week.
Peace out. Go Pigs.